Awkward.
Okay, so today I am presenting how to make the perfect cup of coffee. We have bean varieties from all over the world. Today's are from Guatemala, and on the labels you'll always find where it's from, the region it's from, what it's infused with, and the elevation that the beans are grown at. This one is infused with brown sugar, peach, and rose. And this one was found at 45 to 5,400 feet. The most robust beans are found always above 3,000 feet. They always start out as green beans, and I have in the tray in the middle of the table, they shows the green beans that they are picked as, and they are the smallest, and as they are roasted they expand and they grow bigger and they grow more oily. At the first crack you get the breakfast blend, which is the most caffeinated bean, and as it progresses you move from Vienna to French, and then the highest or the least caffeinated and the highest bitterness is the espresso, and those are actually called the reject beans, and they're the ones that you buy when into a latte, and they are hand-picked out of the batches, and they are pulled aside and they are sold as their own type of bean. And so to store the beans, you always want to store them in their original bag that they came in a cool, dark, dry place. I store mine in the kitchen cupboard, and they are bagged immediately after they are roasted, within 24 hours after they're roasted, and they seal them, and they have a one-way valve on them. This one has it on the back, and the carbon monoxide that is released out of the beans as it's drying is actually released out of the bag, and it's self-sealing, and they're actually toxic within the first 24 hours of having been roasted. You cannot use the beans. You have multiple different kinds of grinds. The most coarse one is the cupping, called the course of the ground is called cupping, and it is made specifically for those that are doing large samples. So Starbucks would do a batch of beans as a cupping batch, and they would set those out for the day. Your next course is going to be French pressed, and then the medium course is a pour over or your standard drip coffee, and then the espresso is obviously the most fine. You want to heat water to about 185 at home. If you're going to Starbucks and you're ordering a latte, they will heat it to about 175. If it's any hotter than that, it will start to scald the milk, and then you get too much sour taste to it and burnt. For kids' temperatures, it's always between 140 and 150 degrees. So the first brewing that we're going to do is a standard bloom, and you're going to, this is the AeroPress as opposed to a standard pot of coffee. I have the most coarse for this one. You pour just a little bit of it in there, and you want to let the coffee bloom for about 20 seconds, and you stir it, and while it is blooming, it's actually releasing all of the flavors in the coffee into the water. Just as you would steep your tea before you drink it, you want to release all the flavors from the coffee bean. And then we'll fill it up the rest of the way. Okay, so some people use a paper filter. These ones came with my AeroPress. I don't like them because they actually trap the oils, whereas the metal filter has little tiny holes through the whole thing that actually releases all the oils from the beans. It makes it stronger, and since I'm clearly a coffee snob, I like the stronger coffee. Okay, so from the AeroPress, so you're gonna let this one sit about a minute, roughly a minute. And then, so for standard plunging, it usually takes about a minute to plunge the whole thing out. I'm going to go a little faster, and I'm going to release all of the air out of it as well, because I don't have a sink to drain oil into. Super tight because I didn't let it sit. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear the air in the last second of that. That's what you would stop plunging at or regularly, and you would do that. You would stop and you would actually release the rest into your sink, and then you just dump the grinds. Okay. Yep. And then, so that's the first one. And the second one is actually going to be inverted. So with this one, you're going to bloom your grounds for another like 20 seconds. And then you're going to flip it, and it's going to move the grounds circulating through the water a lot better than just stirring it would. This one is just basically getting it off the bottom of the plunger. And then a competition plunge would be about 45 seconds for the inverted one. Again, also releasing the water as you're plunging it. Metal filter again. Seal. So I don't know if you can see on the top of this, as you shake it, it's going to foam up and it becomes a little bit frothy. That's how you get your, so in a standard coffee pot, the last bit, it will push out air, and that will get you the frothiness on top. But for this one, it's obviously there's no pressure, so you're creating the pressure. So you have to create your own froth on it. And then you would leave it sitting like this for a minute for it to pressurize again. And this one would take about 45 seconds to a minute to plunge as well. Okay, and then the last one that we're going to do is called a pour over. And you're actually you put your grounds directly into a cone filter. And this is a special kind of cup. It has a hole in the bottle, but it's all funneled. And you can buy these really anywhere. Okay. And it just sets on the cup. And with this, instead of letting it bloom as you would let the 20 seconds of the stirring and the blooming, this one, you're going to do the bloom and the pour at the same time. So you just keep it pouring over the beans, and you let it drain a little bit, let it filter out while it's doing that. And while you're sampling it, you're supposed to smell the coffee before you taste it. It opens up the taste buds because those two sensories are directly linked, and they are very important in coffee. And the first one, you smell it, you swirl it like you would with wine because it creates the oils on the outside of the cup. And then when you take a small sip, you are supposed to splash it throughout your whole palate to enhance the flavors. And then you start sipping gently. You never just chug coffee. First of all, it would probably just burn you and be painful, but it tastes more bitter. Those that drink it fast have always complained about more bitterness. But yeah, you want to open the flavors into your palate. And I brought a pairing of some brownies today. We have, since this is a lighter roast, we have a mild chocolate brownie, but it's chewy, so it's going to be the lighter the roast, the darker the chocolate. And this one's right in the medium, so it's a mild chocolate brownie. If you were to be having an espresso roast, white chocolate is good with that. Or if you have a breakfast blend roast, something closer to strawberries, something that's more a little bit sweeter but not overpowering with the palate. Grapes and cheese are always good with coffee because they bring out the acidic levels in the coffee, in the flavors. They have latte competitions all over the world. They have them regionally, nationally, and globally. And in those competitions, they look for your aroma, your body, your foam density, and the design in the foam. I think that's cheating because a lot of them use injectors from the coffee to create the shapes in the foam. They also have specifically an AeroPress competition, which is what this is. And they look for the aroma, body, the bloom, and the oils that create on the upper layer of the coffee. And that's my presentation.